Today, I'm not going to talk about everything that I saw. I'm not going to talk about the ubiquitous malnutrition, and virtually, I agree, every patient I operated on got infected. I actually closed my initial wounds and clean skin as if it was going to be infected because it was going to be. I'm not going to talk about the dozens of targeted healthcare workers, including RN, surgical techs, and physicians. I'm not going to talk about two children that I saw assassinated by snipers, in that I saw them shot twice, both in the head and the chest, one of which was witnessed by their father being shot in the head after they were already dead on the ground, and he saw the Israeli soldier. I'm not going to talk about the aid trucks going last year. This is my second time going. My first time going through is still open Rafah border on my exit. I saw enough aid trucks not allowed in because they weren't being deconflicted. Enough aid trucks, 30 miles long, 8 trucks wide, enough to go around Gaza 3 times, bumper to bumper. I'm not going to talk about the bombing of the hospital last month that I was at, where I cried because I knew that my partner Feroz was walking to the men's surgical unit right when I heard the bombs go off and strike the hospital that he was about to enter that ward. Um, Everybody knows that 95% of the total healthcare facilities are closed, and that this is truly a the targeting of the healthcare system is just part of the demoralization of a population that they wish to destroy, including the death of the children, simply so they can have their land. And I speak those words as a Jewish American surgeon. Um, the I was at 2 hospitals when I just got back a couple weeks ago. I started off at Nasser, quickly went to Al-Aqsa Hospital, and I was at the termination of the ceasefire at Al-Aqsa Hospital. Uh, 3 functioning operating rooms. 70 people came in needing surgery immediately that night at 2:30 in the morning. Um, Very quickly, we lost all of our orthopedic supplies. A second mass casualty event, not that that one really ever ended for 2 weeks, managing it. A second mass casualty event would have caused the death of even more people because we couldn't care for them. We had no functioning X-ray machine by the end of that mass casualty event. All of our power equipment was gone, and all of our orthopedic implants were gone. The last child that I fixed a broken elbow fracture using drill bits. I had no pins, I had no plates, I had no screws. The drill bits that I brought with me that are designed to be reused thousands of times. Well, they're throwaway in my country, but I use them thousands of times and resharpen them overseas. Um, I left the drill bits in because they were the only fixation devices that we had. Um, at that hospital, the head orthopedist, the only other orthopedic surgeon that wasn't a resident, was told to evacuate his house and that town immediately or die, because his wife was a UN dentist who hasn't practiced as a dentist since the last time I was there a year earlier. But because she was a dentist, purportedly, he was told to evacuate. And that was done just to eliminate the most senior and remaining orthopedic attending that was at that hospital. That left me with residents only. Um, I left the hospital because we had no screws or plates to put in. We triaged a bunch of patients for outpatient surgeries. Prior to that, we actually transported them back down to Nasser Medical Complex where I stayed. Um, and in that is the introduction, the segue to the main story that I want to share, and that the world's full of personal stories about tragedies, and many of these individual stories reflect a multitude of war crimes. And here's mine. It's dear to my heart. We know that orthopedic surgeons and other surgeons, of course, and doctors were imprisoned and actually died in custody in Israeli prisons. If that's not a big enough war crime, that the head orthopedist who could stand as the chairman at any orthopedic department in the world, uh, from Al Shifa Hospital, was imprisoned and died while in custody. But the head pediatric surgeon at Nasser Hospital, an orthopedic surgeon, was taken custody while in the operating room, um, imprisoned in Israel, had his fingers broken one by one until he admitted that he was Hamas, which he never did. Uh, they eventually uh, electrocuted him. Then they showed him pictures of his wife and said, "We will a ground picture taken from a spy, not from an old picture, but a current picture outside their house." Said, "We will rape your wife in front of you, gang rape her in front of you if you don't admit that you're Hamas." Um, he was beaten every time he asked to speak to his lawyer. He was beaten harder and longer every time he did speak to his lawyer, so badly that he asked to speak to his lawyer one more time, who he then told, "Here's where I'm hiding money, get my family to Egypt." And then he wasn't stimulated to admit that he was a Hamas. I saw all 10 of his crushed fingertips. Um, and what made him, the worst psychiatric disease from which he really suffers from now and for which we're getting care for, um, and what makes him break down and cry like a baby in front of you is that they showed him a picture of his children and their bedroom window and said, uh, "This is a drone photograph of your bedroom window, and the next drone will have an explosive in it through your baby's windows and kill your and incinerate your family if you don't admit you're Hamas." This type of deliberate torture represents 10,000 war crimes, a complete violation of every single Geneva Convention, of which first was written in 1860 primarily to prevent the torture of caregivers and the bombing of hospitals um, that Feroz had stimulated, uh, that talked about, all the way up to the Fourth Convention, to which Israel's a signature in 1950. Um, their deliberate ignoring of all laws, the deliberate American government's ignoring of all laws, is the biggest crime that could possibly exist. Um, and this just serves as one example of how multiple international and global laws and even American laws are violated on the regular basis and completely ignored. And I think the attention needs to be drawn to, especially to American legislatures, and call on them for breaking American law. Um, when I was there, I communicated with Senator Darrell Issa, who had shared with me his telephone number, thinking that I would be a fellow sympathetic Jew after I did a Doctors Against Genocide talk. And he had texted me out of the blue. I'd never heard of him before, and he was the assistant director of Trump's reelection campaign. Actually, suspended his job as a congressman. I said senator, but he's a congressman. Um, while he helped Trump get reelected. And I've sent him photographs of babies who died in front of me. I sent him a photograph of a child that was dying in front of me that I was stepping over so I can get to a baby who I thought that I could save. And he didn't give a shit. He just dismissed it. He returned text back to me. And there's our problem. The problem is in my view, is not the Israeli government, right? If you open the cage of a lion in a zoo and it jumps out and kills somebody, it's the zookeeper's fault. The lion did what we knew what it was going to do. Israel has not changed its behavior, its Zionist behavior, since the 1940s. And they're not going to change as long as that government's in power. The real problem is the American government, the British government, and to the degree that other governments like Italy and France have supported it. We've got to change things at the Western government level to make a meaningful change. And that's my contribution.